On today's episode, we head into Mexico, get a taste of the beach, and try to deliver a 50-year-old package. My wife and I are on a motorcycle trip through Central and South America to explore cultures and food. So bring an appetite for adventure because we're hungry riders.
We left Tucson early for our first international border crossing, and it turns out we had no problems at all crossing into Mexico. We got our tourist cards in just about 10 minutes. So we're here at the Mexican border. Aaron's doing paperwork inside. I'm watching the bikes. It was pretty easy actually crossing the border. We didn't get searched or anything, and so far so good. There was no line going into Mexico, but there was a large line to get into the US. Getting there early on a weekday morning made it very smooth.
We also needed to import our bikes, which took a bit longer, maybe 45 minutes, but overall it went very well. This was the first time we had to really rely on our Spanish skills, but after 2 months of studying, this got us by.
Our first stop across the border was Hermosillo, where we arranged to surf some couches and get acclimated to traveling through Mexico. Our hosts took us out on the town that night, and we got a glimpse of culture in a very hot desert city. Everyone goes out at night. The town plaza was just coming alive at about 11 p.m. when most kids in the US would be in bed, even during the summer when school is out.
We're staying with some local people through couchsurfing, and I asked them what's the local regional dish that you can only get here in Hermosillo, and they said without a doubt it's got to be Coyotas. So we're here at one of the best places they make them in town, and we're going to find out exactly how they're made and what they actually taste like. So let's go see. Coyotas are made with something similar to a tortilla, but the bread is a bit more flaky, light, and buttery. Something between a regular tortilla and phyllo dough. Here at Doña Maria, expert hands roll them out flat, then add a filling which can be anything from papaya, apple, honey, walnuts, chocolate, and many more. Then they cover it with another layer of dough, and they cut them into perfect circles, and then they're ready for the oven. Here they have 2 huge wood-fired ovens which can cook dozens of coyotas at a time. After some shuffling to distribute the heat, they're done in about 8 minutes. We left with a pack of assorted flavors which would serve as breakfast for the next few days. You can find this recipe for Coyotas at our website at hungryriders.com.
Next we went to the beach in Guaymas, where they were having a large festival in town with a live mariachi band and several interesting things to eat and drink. I got some tepache, which is fermented pineapple juice. It isn't alcoholic, and it tastes like a combination between an overripe pineapple and apple juice. Very tasty, refreshing, and not overly sweet.
I tried a coconut preparado, which wasn't like any coconut I have tasted before. They give you the coconut water in a bag, which is normal, then carve up the meat from the inside and add about 10 different kinds of toppings, which include chili powder, soy sauce, fresh lime, salt, and a few other things that I couldn't recognize. It was a bit spicy, but still very tasty. Apparently this is popular along a lot of the Pacific coastal towns.
A few days of beach time and seafood, and we were ready to head into the mountains. We've heard and read quite a bit about Copper Canyon, and we had a mission to accomplish there. Copper Canyon is in the state of Chihuahua, which is currently undergoing a bit of a drug war, and while we did come across some military checkpoints, we didn't really see any other signs of a war or even feel unsafe at all.
Our strategy was to get our riding done in the early part of the day for 2 reasons. Safety, and it tends to rain in the afternoon, which is something that we want to avoid. The roads through these mountains are treacherous, since you're usually on the side of a cliff, but the twists and turns along with the scenery make them extremely fun. Plus, most of these roads are in excellent condition, so the only hazard we had to worry about was sand and rocks that would fall from the cliffs above, which is normal and you'll find anywhere. We made it to Creel with just a bit of rain, and we set out to accomplish our mission.
So my father was a photographer who has since passed away, but back in the 60s and 70s he made several trips down to Copper Canyon, which is where we are now, and he spent a lot of time with one specific Tarahumara family. The Tarahumara Indians are the ones that are famous for running great long distances at a time, and this family that he spent a lot of time with, he got several photos of them which have since been published in magazines and books and are now in a couple museums across the US. And we're going to ask around the local people here and maybe go to some churches, see if they know the family. And the father was middle-aged at the time, so he might not be around anymore, but his daughters hopefully will be, and maybe we can find them and give them some of these photos. We came to one of the towns and we went to a lookout and asked somebody there if they knew the family we were looking for, and He pointed us down the road, maybe 100 yards, so we went over there and asked some local people who were selling their crafts, and as we were looking at the photos, looking at the map, maybe we had to go to a different town, a crowd started to gather that was all looking at the photos, and one of the women there seemed to recognize the people in them, and it turns out that that was her father and her family and herself.
Mama?
Mama?
Ah, sí.
And her father had just passed away maybe a couple months ago, and yeah, she remembered my father, who had lived with them for months at a time, several times. She seemed really happy to get the photos. She started to get choked up a little bit and said she would share them with her family, her sisters, and she seemed very appreciative. Mission accomplished.
We had expected to spend a few days searching around and asking questions at churches and remote villages in order to find that family, but now we had the whole rest of the day to ourselves. As much as we're enjoying our KLRs, the main twisty roads made us miss our sport bikes. Though we're glad we have dual sports because almost any road off the main one is likely going to be rough dirt.
We heard about some hot springs nearby, located on our way back to Creel, just about 11 kilometers down a dirt road, so we went for it. The road started out like any other dirt road, some bumps and rocks here and there, but nothing too extreme. Then the road turned into cobblestone and we found a parking lot, so we were ready to park and hike the rest of the 3 kilometers, but as we approached the gate, the attendant said, "Just ride down on your motorcycles."
Well, okay. We'd already experienced a short taste of that cobblestone road, but this was a bit more adventurous than we expected. Very steep, sheer cliffs, and a very rough ride using a lot of our ample KLR suspension.
We made it down to the hot springs and had a swim, and we also met some local police officers that were having a barbecue. They invited us to join in and offered us beer and tequila as well, but since we were on the bikes and would need to ride back up that super steep road, we enjoyed the tacos but declined the alcohol.
I was a bit worried about burning out my clutch on this kind of road. Since my bike is geared more for the highway, that means I've had better gas mileage than Serafina so far, but on this kind of road, I was jealous of her stock gearing. I needed to ride a bit faster without feathering the clutch too much, which meant a steady but quick speed up the hill and an extra bumpy ride.
That ended up being one of the best days we've had on the trip so far. We decided to go deeper into Copper Canyon. The only question was how.
On the next episode, what do you do when the main road into a remote town in the heart of Copper Canyon is closed? That's where our dual sports will come in extremely useful.
But until then, let us know what you think. You can send us an email at feedback@hungryriders.com or tweet us @hungryriders.
And also, don't forget to like us on Facebook at facebook.com/hungryriders. And if you don't want to miss a single episode, subscribe to us on YouTube at youtube.com/hungryriders. Thanks for watching.